Alright, Q&A 3. Let's do it. A few announcements before we get going here. We don't have a sacrificial lamb. Nobody did a good enough job of being a dick to get roasted on the front of this Q&A. So instead, let's have a... well, there was one guy said would, but he wasn't enough of a dick, so he didn't make the cut. I'm just going to leave that where it is unless he pushes further. So anyway, let's do something a little different. Couple things, couple pointers. Guys, on the Nether Better upgrades, at least half of you, when you send me your info for the Nether Better upgrade, you say, how do I donate? The donate button is on the bottom right corner of the orange electric banner for the fitness page, okay? You may not see it on a little tiny phone screen or something. You may need a larger screen in some cases to see it, but that's where the donate button is. Okay, what else? I'm still noticing a lot of people posting random questions on random threads all over the channel. So remember, guys, put them on the official Q&A thread. That's where I'm reading these from. That's where you'll get an answer in the Q&As if you really want an answer from me. All right. And one more thing. We got 2,000 people right now, and we're in this together, guys. So here's my thought. At 10,000 subscribers, we will celebrate by doing the first live Q&A. Okay? So show me, those of you who care, show me you're interested in that. I want to see the subscriber numbers start going up a little quicker after I post this Q&A to tell me you guys are into that. Otherwise, I'm not going to bother because these are a lot easier than actually scheduling a time. But if you guys are excited, if you're into that idea, if you want live Q&As with me, show me by starting to collect subscribers. Now, I realize that there's a temptation for some of you to think that there's some way you're going to keep this channel small so you can keep all the personal attention. Couple things there. It's not going to work anyway. This channel's going to grow anyway. And number two, don't think that way, guys, because there's a lot of things, a lot of great ideas, expansive visions that I have already for this channel, but they're things that I'm not going to implement until there's a lot more people, okay? So things will get better as we go if you'll help me expand this thing. Don't be afraid of that. There's always going to be personal consultations and services available. Along those lines, okay, the Nether Better upgrade that I've been doing for $15, now that is absolutely, completely dirt cheap for what it is. And I'm totally okay doing that. But what's happening and what will happen is I'm going to become overwhelmed with a number of requests for that service. So down the line, as that occurs, the price is going to go way up, more towards something reasonable for what's really being offered there. So just so you know, if you're on the fence about it, if you're all about getting things cheap, maybe you hardly have any money, and you want something that's worth a lot, now's the time to do it, just so you know. Just putting that out there for those that's relevant to. I don't want to hear down the line that you can't possibly afford it, so if super cheap is your only option, get your Nether Better upgrade nowadays, okay? Before I'm so swamped that I have to slow down the demand by raising the price more towards something reasonable. So I think those are all the basic announcements. Here's another idea that's gonna, I may make an official video for it soon. The Nether Plateau Buster package. It's a little bit different. It's basically for any time progress is slowing and you want to keep making gains. I will write you up something that will shock all your muscles into gains. It's that simple. It's very simple. It's one simple service. The Nether Better upgrade is for diet, for rehab, for life, for anything. It's a pretty flexible service. But the Nether Plateau Buster is just for me to rewrite your training for you so you can shock your muscles into growth instead of working real hard at things that your body's already acclimated to and you can barely make any kind of gains. This is how I've continued to make gains well past when people say you can't. You have to keep giving the body a reason to. So, that service, probably going to be starting out at 20 bucks a pop, okay? Like I say, it's going to get overwhelming. Down the line, it'll be a lot more. But so, yeah, go ahead and timestamp that. Whoever's awesome, whoever's timestamping today, let's just go ahead and announce it. The Nether Plateau Buster package, all right? For 20 bucks, Send me your current training and any other info you think's relevant, and I will give you another rewrite to your training that will shock all your muscles into continued growth. Now, the more limited you are in your thinking, if you say, well, I don't want to give up my basic bench press workout, and I don't want to give up my basic squat workout, and I don't want to give up my basic deadlift workout, now you're shrinking the amount of good I can do. If you're going to force me to stay basically on all the things that you're mostly used to now, I'll still work with you, okay? I'll give you what I can. But just for those of you with an ear to hear, what I'm saying here is if you don't care which exercises you're doing, you're just ready to shock your muscles into further growth, functional strength and mass gains on all your muscles, that's what the Nether Plateau Buster package is for. Boom! Time stamp it, 20 bucks, hit me up if you want one. Okay, moving on. First question. Can you talk about some deadlift alternative exercises? Well, my favorite alternatives to your standard deadlift are trap bar deadlift, Jefferson deadlift, even a hack lift I would prefer. What else is relevant here? And all variations of rack pulls. If you look at Dorian Yates, for example, best back in professional bodybuilding, him and Ronnie maybe were kind of pioneers in that area. What did he do? What did Dorian do? Well, he dropped your standard deadlift because he's a bodybuilder and he needs more effective exercises for building muscle mass. He did below the knee rack pulls for the rest of his career. No more standard deadlift, below the knee rack pulls. That's where he found the range of motion for building the most muscle, using an exercise similar to the deadlift, just not as much range of motion. Same way him and Ronnie did presses for the most part, just staying in the strong range of motion, not wasting their time going through the full rep. Now, it kind of depends what you're looking for here. Are you looking for max 1 rep strength on deadlifts, or are you just looking to build muscle in all the areas that a deadlift builds muscle, except better? So if I knew which you were more interested in, I'd have more specific recommendations there, but those are the main things that come to mind off the top of my head. Okay. Much love. Next question. How do you strengthen tendons and ligaments, in particular knee, shoulder, elbow? The key to getting stronger muscles is the foundation in the background, but I think there is a dearth of info about this topic. Thoughts? Yeah, there's probably not enough info out there about it. People that subject their tendons to higher loads, and we're talking low rep stuff like 1 rep maxes, that's the kind of stuff that's going to build up your connective tissue, not volume training, okay? And this is probably one of the several reasons why professional bodybuilders have such chicken shit connective tissues. Now, granted, there's something going on with the drugs they use, because there's no way some of these guys should be snapping their shit as easy as they are from some of the things I've seen them do to injure themselves. But this is part of it. A lot of them built those huge muscles without ever really going heavy weight on anything. They've never gone past moderate weight, and they just use a high volume. And hell, some of them build muscle with what I call light weights. For example, if you like to sit in a chair and do lat pull downs, and you have what you consider full back development because you're on a bunch of androgens and you eat 10 fucking meals a day or whatever it is, that's just crazy talk to me that you can even build real muscle that way. You could build better muscle if you weren't being lazy, but anyway, that's a different topic. The point here is it's subjecting your connective tissues to the highest load. Now with bones, that can be done by impact, getting hit, jumping and landing on things hard. With tendons, it's being pulled on with heavy ass weight. Not high volume, heavy ass weight. More HIT style, okay? That's very basic, very simple, and very true. Now there's a lot of supplements out there that can strengthen tendons too, like Go2 Cola, Diatomaceous Earth. Well, you know what, guys? Just go over to my high testosterone video and check out what I linked for my favorite supplements under that. That kind of sums it up. My basic pack for everything. Good tendons, bones, ligaments, organs, glands, vitality, testosterone production. I kind of summed it all up in one little packet under that video that I just posted. Most recent post. So, there's that. Alright, next question. Much love. Where do you get the Laxogen in? It sounds interesting. It is interesting. It's helping me recomp, and my health is good from it. Inflammation's down. So far, so good on that supplement. I get mine on Amazon, and the brand I believe is Element. I believe it's called Element, is the brand makers. Anyway, look over Laxogenin on Amazon. It's one of the highest rated ones. Look for people's reviews. Find one that has a lot of high star reviews, you know. That would be my advice, because these products are faked out there. There's a lot of fake plant-based bodybuilding supplements that don't do shit, and then they get a bad rep, but it's because somebody's selling sawdust in a bottle. When you actually get a good supply of the real stuff, you do notice it. It has an effect. Like I said, it's helping me recomp. I haven't gained an ounce on it, but it's helping with my recomp, and I feel good on it. I feel some sort of well-being improvements. My flexibility's up a little, so to me that says that it brought down inflammation in muscles to where I'm a little more flexible, so that's pretty awesome. It's known to be good for joints and ligaments and tendons, so hearkening back to the last question, Laxogenin, review it, okay? I don't tell people to take supplements that are out there, but you can look into that for connective tissues as well as overall athletic and health benefits. All right, much love. Next question. Why is this thing not scrolling? Don't do this, laptop. There we go. Okay. My body weight goes up more than my lifts, and even though I'm eating at a surplus, my lifts increase very slowly. What am I doing wrong? Well, I wouldn't say you're doing anything wrong. It sounds like you're training. The effect it's having on you is more volumizing your muscles and not so much about strength. So when it comes to pure brute strength, now, again, I'm not a powerlifting coach. I'd be a decent strongman training coach, though, in my own way. So, well, coaching myself. I'm not the person to coach because I always have to jump in and do. But anyway, my point here is I like to get real specific when it comes to strength. Pick the lifts that you actually want to be strong on, and start your workout by working up to a 1 rep or maybe a 3 rep max, depending on what exercise it is. There's certain exercises that it's not really safe to do a 1 rep max on your own, like a bench press. If all you have is a standard bench with no safety pins and no training partner, I'm not telling you to go max out on bench and guillotine your own head off. But on anything safe, where you have a setup where you can effectively do so, me personally, I like to start a workout when I'm working on pure strength on a certain lift. I always start the workout with that lift. I warm up a little, and I don't waste any energy, just enough warming up, and then I add weight and I add weight, and I go up to a single rep max or maybe a 5 rep max, depending on what it is. And that's it. And if I want more volume to my training after that, then I go into the whole volume bodybuilding phase. There's days where I do that. There's days where I don't. There's days where I'm just training a certain muscle group just for power at that time. So I'll just hit my big 1 rep max, and as long as I made some progress, the number's a little higher, that's it. I'm done with that workout, and a few days later I'll do it again. And if I don't hit a slightly higher number on my 1 rep max, then I drop the weight down a little, maybe to 90%, and I do as big of a set as I can to build some strength, power, and muscle mass in those specific muscles in that specific lift, so that the next time I come back, theoretically, I should have a little higher 1 rep max. That's the way I do it, and it works really well for me. So that's all I can share is my own personal experience. There's a million methods out there that have worked for different people, but I'm only going to speak about what I have experience with. I feel hypocritical if I try to tell you somebody else's path to success. So that's what I have to say about that. I believe it was in the last Q&A. I was asked something about static contraction or isometric training. I remember doing a static contraction phase that made my body very dense, and some of my 1 rep maxes went up while simultaneously even losing weight. So muscle density and power training when you're doing it right, it doesn't necessarily make you gain any size. In fact, again, I've lost weight training that way, where I was increasing my maxes, because the way of training is different than when you're doing more volume type training that tends to volumize the muscles a little more. And that statement only applies to people with certain metabolism types, and this is where everything gets more interesting. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. Please be more specific if you want more information on that. You know, you can even ask, like, you know, your specific lifts you want to gain on, or in other words, if you want to get more specific, we can go from there. But being the way you've worded it, I think I've said enough. That's my basic thoughts on that. All right. could you share your experience with nucleus overload? Okay. And I've done it before, but I'll do it again to make sure this is in the library in enough forms people can understand it. Now, I didn't know it was called nucleus overload. I didn't discover that term or that there were people teaching that or understanding the concept until after I had done my own nucleus overload training. But in my case, I did 18 months of workouts that were using all the kind of exercises I like that I share with you guys, but I was doing it in a light to moderate weight range. Moderate meaning I would only go as heavy as I could crank out anywhere from 30 to 60 sets. Meaning I would pick a weight that I wouldn't even, in most cases, I would not have to change the weight through the entire workout. So let's say I took like 200 pounds and I did 30 different sets of incline presses, okay? And in between that, I might have been doing 30 sets of chin-ups or something, okay? So it was really high volume. And for me, the weights were kept moderate to light. Maybe 200 pounds is a bad example. For some people's minds are going to get confused. For most people, let's say an average, I'm guessing an average strength out there, let's say you took 100 pounds and did, 30 sets, trying to have pretty good reps, because that's the other thing. I'm not talking 30 sets of 5 reps. I'm talking 30 sets of 10 to 30 reps is mostly the range I was working on all this stuff. This was very instinctive, but something inside me knew. I was in a phase in my life where I had the time to put in 2 or 3 hour workouts each day, and something in me knew to do this because I'd never done this before. So I did that for 18 months on every muscle group, just high volume. Now, I would challenge myself on a strength event here and there because I like to lift heavy things. So sometimes I would start out a workout like I was describing earlier in this Q&A by hitting a 1 rep max on something, and then I would go into my nucleus overload training. But the vast majority, 95% of my training for those approximately 18 months was very nucleus overload in nature. And then I went back into the way I prefer to train more, which is heavier weights and not incredibly long workouts, and the gains were better. I did make gains during all that nucleus overload. I put on a decent amount of mass, and then I noticed when I shifted back into lifting heavier things with more of a focus on power, explosiveness, max strength and power, brutality, more HIT style training, 1 or 2 really heavy brutal sets, my gains were better than ever because of the increased nucleus activity through all my muscles in my body. So that's my experience with it, okay? I'm not the formal teacher on it. It's kind of pioneering, cutting edge ground, and anybody that thinks they know all the ins and outs of nucleus overload training is fooling themselves because it hasn't been explored all that well. But the way I explored it, it worked well for me. So I'm not recommending 18 months of full body nucleus overload because how many takers am I going to get? 1 or 2? And if you do, go for it. Awesome. If you feel that, it'll pay off for you. But that was my experience. Next question. Much love. Alright. You mentioned in a former Q&A that you can alter the Jefferson deadlift to affect either your back or your quads more. Please go into more detail. I posted a video literally today showing that, so check it out. It's a discussion and demo video about the Jefferson lift and how to, I literally show positioning, how to make it more about the squats, how to make it more about the deadlift, and as I wrote in the information under the video, using that lift, once you know how to use it both these ways and everything in between, if you're not a competitive power lifter, you can literally use this Jefferson lift to get better gains on your leg or your lower body than you can with standard squats if you know what you're doing, as well as better gains in your back than you can on a standard deadlift if you know what you're doing. So anyway, check out that video. Enough said. Next question. How do you put a low-carb, mostly plant-based diet into action? Most plant-based foods are rather carb-heavy in my experience. You already mentioned that you use a lot of pea protein, but I'm still wondering. Maybe you can share an example day. Thanks in advance. Yeah, I think I shared the example, one of my example vegan diets before. Let me say it really simply here. Something I was using would look like this quite often. Now, I'm an intermittent faster, right? So throughout the day, intermittent fasting, I might take in certain supplements or amino acids, or I might not, depending on what your beliefs on that are. But then I would have two main meals, okay, after training. After training. The first one would be a little more carb based. The protein in it would be pea protein. I'd have like probably 50 grams of total protein, mostly, not pea protein, excuse me, lentils. All right? Mostly lentils and other vegetables, and I would take certain supplements with it that were not fat soluble supplements. The ones that were not fat soluble I would take with this meal. Eat all my lentils and vegetables and herbs, some apple cider vinegar, and a few supplements. That would be at least 50 grams of protein, and usually I would have part of that in the form of a pea protein drink, yes, at the same time. So I wasn't eating 50 grams worth of lentils. That's a lot of lentils. You can do it that way if you want to. But it was probably, 30 grams of protein in the form of lentils and 20 in the form of a shot of pea protein with some of my herb supplements and my apple cider vinegar mixed in. So that was a drink I was taking with that meal. Then 2 or 3 hours later, when my stomach had processed that, then would come the heavy protein fat-based meal, which most nights was a large amount of organic peanut butter or a large amount of organic tahini. Sometimes it was almond butter. And I take all my fat solubles with that, as well as more vegetables, but non-starchy. Make sure they're not starchy vegetables. It's a big metabolic and a gut no-no to combine starches and heavy protein fat foods. And everybody does it. It's rampant all throughout society, but it really messes up your digestive tract and your metabolism and your overall health. So that was it. It was two phases. The first one was a little more carb and protein based, foods that were compatible together. The second phase, about 3 hours later, was more fat and protein based, and the foods that were compatible with that. And I would take in close to 200 grams of protein total. So that second meal would have like 150 grams of protein. And that's way more peanut butter or tahini than most people have the digestive power to tackle at one time. So I'm not saying that plan is relevant to you. I'm just sharing how I was doing it, okay? Feel free to adjust these things into different amounts and different timings or whatever. But you asked, so I answered. Now, as far as getting it really low carb, that was not a particularly low carb diet. And that's part of the reason I was doing Nether by the Day high volume training while I was eating all those carbs. Because for me, to eat as many carbs as most vegan diets include, if you're going to eat a decent amount of calories at all, if I'm not super active, that's just too many carbs for me, and it's not good. So to shift it, now let's just design off the top of my head a low carb, totally vegan diet. Use your pea protein shots, add oils so you'll digest them better and slower and utilize more. Reference Vince Gironda on that. Don't take it up with me if you don't believe me. But anyway, oils with proteins make them work better. So I take high quality extra virgin organic olive oil and pour a good shot of that into a shot of pea protein with other herbs and so forth. You can add in really good herbs or micronutrient supplements to that drink and drink it throughout the day. Not only are you getting proteins and fats, feeding the muscles, keeping the metabolism going, but you're also getting a ton of awesome micronutrients that way. And then I would still end the day with a heavy meal, basically, that would be wrapped around tahini or organic peanut butter. One of the reasons is it's so high calorie to grow on, and it's slow digesting overnight to grow on. And it's a vegan food that's, a heavy food, which is pretty, more rare. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, you could do a lot of things to, tweak that, upgrade it, make it better, but that's a very basic plan for a very low carb, fully vegan diet. And again, the supplements, check out my high testosterone video. Underneath that, I've linked the basic supplement pack that I recommend to anybody for life as well as fitness and everything else. Alright, much love. Next question. Yeah, somebody keeps asking me how to build good lats, and I keep telling them the Yates row and the weighted chin-ups and pull-ups versions. Those are the two angles to hit your lats the hardest. The lower lats are going to respond the best to the Yates row on 9 out of 10 people. So really learn how to do a Yates row and do it right. Because you can keep asking me, but I don't have better exercises for that, because there really aren't. At least not until I invent them, right? Yeah. So Dorian came up with a version of the row that really was for the lats, and that's part of the reason he had the best lats ever. So you're really not going to get anything more directly useful as an answer than that, alright? Better lats, master the Yates row. And outside of that, weighted or heavy negative chin-up and pull-up variations for more lat width and upper lat, and the Yates rows for more lat depth and lower lat development. Alright, next question. Advice for someone wanting to gain as much strength as possible without putting on weight. Yes, train very specifically for strength. If I was doing that, I would have, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, however many events I felt like I could put full strength into that day, and I would simply work my way up, warm my way up to a single rep max on all of them. That's it. That'd be my training. I'm done. Might do accessory work, external rotation, cardio, whatever else is important to you for your overall well-being and health, but that's it. It's that simple. It's low volume, it's right to the point, and you will get the most nervous system strength pound for pound in your body that way. In my experience. Much love. Next question. Apparently, peanuts have high concentrations of alpha toxins that are carcinogenic in animals regardless if they're organic or not. Are the concentrations big enough to cause issues in humans? Some humans, probably. Depends how sensitive you'd be to that. I'm sure you've looked into this already, so I'd like to know your opinion. There's more to this question. Hold on. Well, it's two parts. So let's start with that. Yes, there are toxins in peanuts. There are toxins in almost all plants, as well as all animal foods. Now, peanuts, you hear more about it. Some people are more afraid of it. Personally, I believe that's because there's more peanut allergies out there than there is to most things. So people have died from eating peanuts, and that causes people to take a closer look, and that's probably why they notice more toxins. But think about it. Any nuts and seeds or similar products, produce all around the world, they're being processed somewhere. They're being piled up. There's all kinds of bugs and rats climbing around on these piles of things at night, shitting on it, probably, if we want to be realistic, before it gets sent from one place to another. So there's all kinds of things. There's all kinds of toxins, even on really good health products. Now, all that being said, I'm not recommending peanut butter to everybody. Some people's body just plain doesn't like it, and there are allergies to it. So tahini is a good alternative if you like the taste, and I love it. Almond butter is another great alternative. Almonds are known to be highly healthy. If you can afford organic almond butter and you like it, that's probably a great alternative. For me, I seem to be able to eat all kinds of organic peanut butter and be just fine, but that doesn't mean everybody can. So those are my thoughts on that. Now, part two. Is it worth it to keep a plant-based diet when I can't digest most plants without getting loose stool, bloat, and diarrhea? For some reason, I can eat peanut butter just fine, but even small servings of broccoli or oats just wrecks my gut. Yeah, now me personally, I can't eat grains either. I'm super sensitive to them. Body absolutely hates them. And there's members of my family who it doesn't work that way. Their body really likes grains. I have one son, for example, who has a digestive tract like mine. All the foods that I do well with, he does. All the ones I don't, he doesn't. I have another son whose digestive tract is like his mother. And it's really interesting to see how very real that is. So, plant-based, it depends how plant-based. Everybody should have leafy greens, okay, in their diet to be at their best. There's nobody out there that wouldn't benefit from more leafy greens. However, if broccoli and Brussels sprouts and things like that tear you up, there's no reason you have to eat those. I'd say eliminate grains. You're probably totally allergic to them and you get gut inflammation anytime you eat them, like myself. Just don't have the DNA for it. So, is it worth it to be plant-based? Well, plant-based as far as a title or a group to fit in, who cares? Is it worth it to eat a high quality or a high quantity of organic vegetables, let's say, that do agree with you? Yes. It's very worth it. It's foundational to long-term good health. all the micronutrients, etc. So eat as plant-based as you can on the things that you do digest well, and simply don't worry about the ones you don't. Everybody's DNA really is different. So don't put things in your gut that cause it to get angry and inflamed. There's just no point. That old phrase, one man's what is it? One man's trash is another man's treasure, or one man's poison is another man's medicine, or these things apply here. Certain foods that some swear by, oh, it's the healthiest staple you could ever live on. Other people literally die from 10 years of eating that. So it's not, there's no black and whites here. Find the vegetables that do suit your body and eat a lot of those, okay? Outside of that, what else you eat, I'm not setting rules for you, okay? I don't do that to people because it's shitty to do that to people. So work with your body. Find the vegetables it does like and eat a lot of them, because you need those micronutrients to be at your best. That's my simple answer. Next question. Do delayed onset muscle soreness automatically mean muscle growth? And whether yes or no, at how many days is the max? Well, to me, it automatically means that you've stimulated the muscle enough to cause it growth. Does it automatically mean growth? No, because you could be starving. You could be not feeding yourself right. You could be not sleeping. You could be under all kinds of stress. You could actually have smaller muscles when you're all done because you tore up all that muscle tissue and then it ended up just getting washed away instead of replaced better. So in the wording of your question, just to illustrate for people, there's more than one side to the coin here. So no, it doesn't automatically mean growth, because your recovery process is the growth process. But it does mean that you tore up the muscle enough to stimulate it to grow. So you've done one side of the equation, yes. If you're sore at all, rest assured you did enough to cause growth there. Now make sure the recovery side of your equation is maxed out, and then you'll get the best gains from that workout, okay? As far as how many days the max, there's no such thing. It's not the same for everybody. Some of us do well working out every day. Other people do their best working out once every 2 weeks. And there's all these books. Oh, it's 48 hours for naturals. It's all bullshit. There's no such thing. Go subscribe to Bastion Head, all one word. Guy's totally natural, works out, I don't know, twice a month or something. Amazing muscle development. Just to be eye-opening for those who think there's all these little magic formulas of 2 days this and 1 day that and all this horse shit that completely doesn't exist until you believe it does. So there's no answer to that. Okay, I can tell you this, if you're still sore at all, obviously you're not fully rebuilt. Does that mean you should not work out again? No. Depends on which body type, which metabolism type you have. If you're a lean, wiry ectomorph, you probably need to wait longer before you train again. If you're big and large and gain mass easy, you don't need to wait till you're not sore anymore to start training again. There's no magic rule about that. As some of you guys know, I often attack a muscle group 2 or even 3 days in a row till I'm fully convinced I've tore it up as deep as reasonably possible, and then I'll let it recover for however long I want until I feel like hitting it again. So there's no magic rule that says if you have delayed onset muscle soreness you can't train that muscle again. There's also no way to give you an idea of how many days to be waiting, because totally depends on body type, metabolism, which type of training system, how you eat, think, live, what your recovery is, all these different factors. So I won't give you a generic answer like most people on that, because they're just regurgitating shit they heard, or they're lying, or they're trying to sound smart. But it isn't smart, because there's no such thing. Okay. Kids are wrestling with each other. It's not as bad as it sounds. Next question. What do you think about using Olympic lift variations, such as power cleans, to build explosive power? They're great, man. Those explosive lifts, yeah. They're great for building explosive power. Also, what do you think are the best exercises for a combat athlete to focus on? You've said you're a real-world athlete, so it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks. Well, for a combat athlete, let's first say how you do it. Be explosive and take shorter rests between sets. As a combat athlete, your main form of progressive overload should be cutting down the time between sets. Before you even bother going up in weight and going up in volume, you need to be able to get to where you can fight like a motherfucker without slowing down, okay? Against anything. So use your training for that. If you're going both explosive on the reps and short breaks, incredible overload to your muscles. You'll get great gains as well as conditioning. Now, you won't be lifting quite as heavy a weight as the next guy who's lifting slow like an ox. So if your ego's going to get caught up in that, it could be a little bit distractive if you're busy comparing yourself to others. But you shouldn't be anyway. If you're training for a fighter, you got to understand no other athlete's even remotely in the same ballpark of what it takes to be a fighter. So condition the shit out of yourself, okay? Fight as hard as you can, as fast as you can through your workout, and that's how you build the kind of conditioning you're going to need a lot of as a fighter, okay? So now, as far as the types of exercises, don't do anything boring and squared up like squats and deadlifts. Any fighter who ever stands like that is getting knocked the fuck out instantly. It's a retarded thing to even train at as far as being a fighter. Use things like Jefferson's, all right, where you have a staggered stance, where you're actually able to move forward and back fast the way you're going to need to be. Weighted lunges and Jefferson's, closed kinetic chain, move your body through space more than moving weight around your body. Don't do lat pull downs, do chin-ups and pull-ups. Don't do bench press, do weighted push-ups, do real things like that. Because when you're a fighter, you're going to have big, large people hitting you at every angle they can to try to tear your shit apart and break you. And when you train in a gym, everything all lined up square and everything's all boring and safe, and you're not ready. You're not ready. Your tendons, bones, joints, your entire system's just weaker than shit. So training explosively builds your tendon strength. It builds your explosive power, obviously, your speed power, and short rests. Because not only do you have to be explosive, you have to be able to do it constantly as a fighter, okay? You have to take all the athletic attributes that most people only ever specialize in one. You have to put them all together to a higher degree than anybody else in any other sport, especially the cardio power, the power of your heart, metaphorically and physically. Okay? Enough said. Next question. Best tips for removing acne. I have tried just about everything and I'm considering taking Accutane. I have watched Sam Ernill's video on this as well. It seems my acne is internal. Yeah, it's all internal. That's where it's all coming from. Because topical treatments don't help. Antibiotics help, but the results are only temporary. Yeah, and after you've taken antibiotics, now your system's become polluted with candida, and that's the real reason under your acne. You need a very deep candida cleanse now. Because your body's been taken over by candida because you had no immune system or proper gut balance after you took those antibiotics. This is rampant. It's everywhere. I'm not allowed to say much about it without getting my channel shut down again, probably. Antibiotics can save lives in an emergency, but the fact that everybody runs to them to beat every cold and flu they had means now nobody has an immune system and everybody's being overrun by yeast that's eating them alive. So everybody look into this topic. Now, if you want some information, well, I think there's a question about this down the line, so I'm not going to answer that now. But that's what it is. It's a massive candida infection you're struggling against. It's very common. So educate yourself on that and begin that challenging yet highly rewarding journey of taking your body back from an incredible amount of shit that's living in it that's not you. Okay? Now, as far as topically, for those of you listening who just want to try something topical that can be effective depending on how bad your internal situations are, like our friend here, it may not be enough to even make a difference because of the overload of internal toxins being pushed out of the skin constantly. But if you've got a minor case of acne, or you don't even have acne, you just want to make your skin a little nicer, same thing. Organic castor oil, okay? It's wonderful for the skin, disinfects and feeds the skin. If you want to add to it, you can put a little bit of turmeric powder in with it and rub it into your skin. Now beware, turmeric will stain anything it touches. You'll have yellow and orange tie-dye on everything you have if you're not careful, but it's wonderful for your skin. It can reduce acne. This can be used topically for gyno, okay? Because the castor oil will carry it in deeper and penetrate, and the turmeric powder is anti-estrogenic. I'm working with certain people privately that are getting good results this way, as well as stubborn, weird, toxic fat deposits. This same formula can help with that. But again, you may want to wrap it with plastic or something, because if you forget and lean or touch something, it stains the shit out of it. I have a lot of shirts and sheets and pillowcases and various things that have yellow and orange tie-dye, which is fine with me at this point because I love turmeric, but just a little FYI. Now, for those of you that are interested in a different herbal or health product that you'd like to put into your skin, you can mix that with the organic castor oil. The organic castor oil is a great carrier. It'll simply help whatever you're mixing to penetrate deeper and do more good. Okay? So that addresses the real root issue you're dealing with, and many people are, as well as some topical ideas. Those same things can be used on a bald head or a balding head to stop the hair loss and regrow hair. I get this question all the time. Hopefully if I put it in these time stamps enough, you guys will start referencing it. Next question, much love. Around 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 11 seconds of your first Q&A, which was badass and awesome, by the way. It really kicked me into gear and made me want to lift everything in the house. Nice! That's what it's supposed to do. Awesome. I'm glad you were feeling me on that. Okay, you mentioned that the best ab exercises aren't even listed as ab exercises. I want to know what you would call those particular exercises so I can do them myself. I want better abs, the midsection of a strongman, but without all that height and roids. Okay, so here's the thing. If you want the midsection of a strongman, don't do crunches, don't do ab isolation. The core is built from things like deadlifts, squats, especially things like Jefferson where it's getting pulled on at different angles, weighted planks, weighted push-ups where you put the weight a little further down your back. In other words, big compound lifts where you have to strengthen and flex your entire core muscles in order to not snap your own shit, right? Or rip your guts. Those are the exercises that build the best abs. They build the entire core, abs included. Abs are just the ones right on the front here, right? But your core is all these different woven muscles interlaying at different angles over each other, and the big compound lifts work them better than anything. Vince Gironda, someone, I admire, best natural bodybuilder ever, he would literally kick people out of his gym if he even saw them doing crunches or sit-ups because it's such an absolutely stupid exercise. Now, I'm not going to harp on anybody for doing crunches or anything like that. If you like doing that stuff, go ahead. Do it on your own free time. But the truth is you do not need any of that junk to develop the best core possible. You just need to challenge yourself on the big lifts that cause you to engage your core fully. And then to have the abs show, you simply just have to get your body fat low enough they show. Everybody already has amazing abs, okay? The question is, will you ever see them? And if you want them to be a little more amazing, or in other words, you want to have the best core you personally can, it's in the big compound lifts. Now, wrestling and grappling helps a lot because you have to use your core at every single angle possible while you're doing so. So for those of you that, have opportunities like that, I consider grappling to be the best overall core training there is. But as far as just having the biggest, strongest core muscles you have, it's going to come from variations of the big compound lifts, period. And most people that are really serious about that don't even bother anymore with crunches or things of that nature, because if you need crunches or something to complete your ab training, you're not engaging your core when you're using compound lifts. You're somehow copping out on core. So again, nothing against the little isolated ab exercises if that's what you like doing, but from a bigger picture perspective, they're not efficient. They're kind of a waste of time because you can get all the benefits of those and a lot more just by doing the big compound lifts. And you're looking for that anyway. You're looking for that strongman core. One-arm suitcase deadlifts, for example, that hits one side of your core so much harder than the other. If you want big, blocky, strong core, that's the kind of stuff to do. And weighted farmer's walks where, especially with a trap bar and the weight's moving all around you and you're having to brace it and catch it constantly, that kind of stuff builds the big, strong core you're looking for. And functional. You can do all the crunches in the world and just end up with weird muscle imbalances and get injured easily. But when you do the big compound stuff, the farmer's walk, the suitcase lifts, one-arm deadlifting, any kind of rack pulls, deadlifts, Jeffersons, trap bars, a good variation of all the big compound stuff, you're engaging core doing that. That's the very best core training there is, okay? It's so simple that most people just can't believe it because they don't understand mind-muscle connection. But if you pay attention, you'll notice the people with the most gnarly core muscles, they're always the people that lift the biggest, heaviest weights on compound lifts, period. Some of them are too fat to ever see their core muscles, but the ones that get lean, they're the ones that have the gnarliest core because that's the kind of stuff they do. All right, much love, my friend. Next question. What do you think of Lee Priest saying that I love Lee Priest. Oh, God. I love listening to him for a variety of reasons, and I don't think people understand his humor. But anyway, what do you think of Lee Priest saying that if you can't build X body part, then you should quit bodybuilding because your genetics suck? Here's what I think of Lee Priest saying that. I think that Lee Priest is entertained by all the whiny cunts that are looking for an excuse to give up anyway, so he just says shit like that just so you will. He just encourages you to go fucking give up like a pussy. Do you think that Lee Priest didn't have any muscle on his body that didn't grow as well as the rest, and he overcame that to be the best fucking body? Like, you talk about somebody who used He-Man or a fictional character for his image and then literally achieved it. I've never seen anybody look so unreal as his proportions and depths of fucking cuts and all of it at the same time. I have never seen a bodybuilder achieve something that incredible, to be totally honest with you. So yeah, that's just Lee, you know, just encouraging pussies to be pussies. That's what that is. That's his sense of humor. You know, he's not going to try to gently coax you. Oh, it's okay. You'll find a way to fix your weak genetics. He just, that's his sense of humor. You know, Lee Priest hears questions all day from kids who want to go on, you know, 12 grams a test or something so they can temporarily swell up their muscles and look good for a concert, and they don't know shit about bodybuilding. They never build any muscle, and they just make a bad name for the sport and drug use. So when he says stuff like that, he's just annoyed by the same stupid ass, you know, setting yourself up to fail type questions that have been going on forever. There's no way that an actual champ like Lee Priest, who should have been, if he wasn't so... That's another thing I like about him. He's not a pussy. He says what he really thinks, and that's why the organization never let him have first place, and they played their little game and discredited him, and other bodybuilders won't even speak to him because they're too pussy to be politically incorrect. I fucking love Lee Priest for all that stuff. And the fact that he says shit that's real, and he's not politically correct pussy that won't say what he really thinks, I love that about him. But anyway, that's all it is. If you're going to be a puss and whine about your bad genetics in some spot, he's just going to tell you to give the fuck up, because you're being a pussy anyway. So that's my take on that. Next question. Much love. I have tried the Jefferson deadlift variation the other day. I went to about 70% of my conventional deadlift 1 rep max. I experienced rather sharp, almost pain unilateral on the upper back. Well, first of all, stop, okay? Stop. Go through the motions really light for a while. There's no point getting injured. You never know when a perfectly good lift is just the wrong thing for one person. So don't pull something on my account, okay? It's an amazing lift for a million reasons, but that doesn't mean everybody should just push through pain and injure themselves. So let me say that right up here, as well as the usual disclaimer that I need to throw in every so often on this channel. I'm not responsible for anybody hurting themselves regardless of what you use, okay? Even if it's an exercise I invented, you endeavor to try that exercise at your own risk. Always start out light, learn the form, get your body's recruitment of muscle patterns used to a lift before you start pushing yourself on weight, okay? That's wise advice, guys. This goes for all of us. Just, you know, basic common sense. But let me finish your question here. It seemed that I could manipulate the intensity of this by the exact position of my upper back. When I started to lift from down the hole. Have you ever experienced this? No, I haven't experienced any weird pains from the Jefferson. I've experienced something weird in my mid-back from doing behind the back barbell hack lifts or whatever you call it. And I've never heard of anybody experiencing that. Now, it never hurt me, but there was just this weird little twingy pain in my mid-back while I was doing those. Probably just a nerve rubbing on something in my case. So I can't tell you what this is, but I'm going to say if you want to master the Jefferson, use it as a lightweight warm-up for now for your other workouts. Just use the bar and do like 50 reps or something on each leg and really warm up and get your body used to the position, and maybe down the road a few months from now or whatever, maybe you won't feel that pain and you can actually start doing weight. But outside of that, it's just not good for me to ever encourage anybody. If you're feeling a weird shooting pain on an exercise, I wouldn't encourage you to add weight or anything, because there's always that chance you've got a stiff tendon somewhere or something that's getting more of the torque put on it than it should, and some little thing gets crunched and you're set back, and I don't want that for you. So no, I have no experience with that. The Jefferson suits me well, but again, everybody's physiology is different. If you're looking for ways to build all the muscles and strength that you build from a deadlift without doing the conventional deadlift, a trap bar is wonderful if you have access. Almost anybody can get comfortable, balanced under a trap bar and lift tremendous weight with very little injury potential compared to a standard deadlift. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, but hopefully that helps. Be careful, my friend, until your body gets used to it. I wouldn't push it if it's, you got to listen to your body. Next question. Do you have any advice for muscle knots? Yeah, you need deep tissue work. And I would make a mixture of about 80% organic castor oil and about 20% organic tea tree oil and rub it into those muscle knots. Or if you can't reach them, like they're in your back, I get them there and I can't reach, you have to have somebody do it for you. Just massage in that oil, okay, to loosen it up, to increase circulation. But yeah, pretty much most serious bodybuilders that can afford it, they all get deep tissue work, because those knots are adhesions where the muscle fibers are kind of melted together like sticky goo, and they can't spread out and grow properly when they're all melted together in a clump. That section's not growing well because it's like plastic wiring that got too hot and started melting together. So having deep tissue work separates the fibers from each other so the circulation can flow between them again and each fiber can grow the way it's supposed to. I'm not saying that if you don't correct your muscle knots you won't get gains. You will. You'll still get gains. But they, as you probably know, they can get to the point where they're pushing on nerves and they're jacking you all up and you're just, it can get bad. So deep tissue work of some kind, and you don't have to go to a professional and spend $100 an hour. If you have a friend or a spouse or anybody close to you who's willing to rub, just massage some of that homemade oil into those knots each day, you'll find that you'll be able to start resolving that pretty quickly and effectively, all right? Much love. Next question. Ideas to optimally increase overhead pressing, exercises, rep ranges, and whatever. I've been working on my overhead press somewhat on the side, bringing it up, because I'm not real proud of it. I mean, I overhead press what most people consider quite a bit of weight, but I know it's not that good compared to what it could be if I had put more effort into it over the years. So I'm kind of working on that on my own. Now, there's a video on my channel called The Unorthodox Way to Increase Overhead Pressing Strength, where I'm just using heavy weight in the lockout range, because I found that I, probably from having such tight lats, I had a lot of resistance in the lockout range. So I was just working with that. Check out that video. Now, it sort of depends where your weakness is. A lot of people, it's going to be starting strength. I'm not even sure which overhead press you're doing. Are you standing and using your legs to get velocity? Now, there's a lot of potential for big weight with that one. If you're doing seated and strict, it's a little different thing. Again, guys, for me personally, just for 1 rep max strength, the best way to train for it is to do exactly that. Take the event you want 1 rep max strength on, work yourself up to a 1 rep max for that day. And if it's not better than the last time you did that, if you're not able to add a little weight or maybe do 2 reps on the weight you did before, then drop a little weight, drop it down to 90%, and do a set all out the best you can, whether it's 3 reps or 2 reps or 10 reps or whatever it's going to be. That will stimulate some muscle growth and some strength increase. And for me, it really is that simple. Now, if I want to add bodybuilding, after that I will then hit those same muscles with some sort of volume training. But just for specific strength, it's really that simple for me, okay? That's the way I've always done it. When it comes to 1 rep max strength, I focus on 1 rep max on that event. And if I didn't make a gain, like I said, then I'll drop to 80 or 90% of my max and just do 1 all-out set on that lift the best I can. And that always gives the body a reason to get stronger each week or however often I'm checking it, okay? So, anything else? One more thing. On the subject of tight lats, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, and I am correcting this as I go, a lot of people's overhead pressing strength is very limited by having overly tight lats. When your lats are tight, even to go through the motions with no weight at all, when you do an overhead press, it's hard to even push your arms back into position, and you're already fighting a certain amount just to put your arms up there, okay? There's like resistance just from the tight lats and the positioning. So hanging and stretching your lats really especially when they're pumped on lat training day, so that you have more range of motion in your lats, can really make overhead pressing easier. Some of us were fighting 50 pounds of our own resistance just from our lat tension when we're trying to do an overhead press, okay? So if you want to free up your capacity, that's a serious trick right there, and I'm sure you can Google that topic and find people demonstrating good lat stretches and explaining that whole scenario. I'm sure there's videos just on that topic, all right? So that's something to look into for sure. Because what if you can increase your overhead press 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds just by correcting a muscle imbalance that has your lats too tight, right? Right. It can be that significant, okay? So look into that. Next question, my friends. Exercises for connective tissue. Do a video on that. Do a video! Fetch boy! Get on that! Okay, well, maybe I will do a video. I'll try to answer it right now. It was asked above, as far as making your connective tissues as strong as possible, it's about subjecting them to maximum strain without snapping them. Right up to the point where you start to do microscopic damage to a tendon or a ligament or whatever, but you stop there before you really rip something, that's optimal training right there to make them stronger. Now, I don't know if you're asking about rehab here. You just said exercise for connective tissue, so I could give you any number of things. That's for making your tendons bigger and stronger. As far as rehabbing, you want to use things like bands that are much gentler on connective tissues and just allow you to work that connective tissue in a low impact sort of a sense to pump blood and lymph and some tension to help the area heal. So if we're talking rehab, you want band exercises more so. So being that that was vague, that's all I can really say. Next question. What types of macros, eating behaviors, patterns, foods manipulate your body in as much of a health conscious and positive way as possible? Man, that's what Another Better Upgrade's for, because I don't know your body. I have no idea what type of metabolism we're talking about right now. There's what's optimal for me, and then there's what's optimal for Sam Arnil. Okay, check out his channel. Awesome collaborator, brilliant guy. I like his training methods. We brainstorm, we create things together. We're very open-minded. We're expanding beyond the mind, but we're dealing with different physical body structures as far as metabolism. So the way he needs to eat and his training frequency and stuff has to be very, very different from mine. As much as we can agree and brainstorm and come up with ideas we both agree on as far as training, our metabolisms are so different that it shows you no two vehicles are the same, okay? So if you want to work personally, get Another Better Upgrade. Otherwise, I can't answer that question, because anything I say, it's only going to apply to certain people, and if other people try it, it's only going to fuck them up, because it's not going to go with their metabolism. And like I say, guys, I don't do things like that. I don't give out generic advice that's going to help a certain percentage of people and hurt a certain percentage of people. I'm just not about it, all right? Next question, much love. What is your skincare routine like? I'm 18 and I do intermittent fasting, train hard, do my cardio, and eat 99% plant-based diet, and I still have acne on my forehead. Please help. Well, again, my friend, usually it's yeast or candida related. However, when you're young, sometimes your body's just producing a shit ton of hormones. It's not always the most balanced hormone production, so yes, there's cleaning that you could do to your body that will reduce acne, but that's not to say that at your age some of it isn't going to still be there, hormonally induced. So let's address this from all angles. We already covered above, and if you didn't see it, go look at the timestamp, topical treatment, basic discussion about acne and candida, so I don't want to go into this too much. You're asking me my skincare routine. Again, guys, organic castor oil. If nothing else, I put that on my face each day because otherwise I get dry. I do a treatment on my scalp maybe once or twice a month, where I just soak my whole scalp, massage in the organic castor oil, and leave it in for at least a day just to soak in deep. And I can literally feel all my hair growing after that. I do the beard once in a while when it feels dry, the skin underneath. But that's about it. It's that simple. Once in a while I'll do a turmeric facial treatment. You guys might have noticed that. Some of my obscure videos you may see here or there, or even on another channel, I'll have like orange powder all over my, or orange mud, it kind of looks like on my face. That's turmeric. It sucks poisons out, it reduces inflammation, it feeds good antioxidants into your skin. So that's my basic skincare. And I only do my face here and there. I don't do any skincare on my body. I have well over 100 significant scars on my body, so I don't bother trying to have, you know, nicey nice skin all over my body, but I do like to take care of my face that way. So that's my basic answer to that. Next question. What do you think about coffee? I know people who overdo it, drinking well over 5 cups a day and drinking it before bed, and they're always tired and stressed. Personally, I drink coffee, but I have to go to the bathroom, so I don't drink it with my meals. Sometimes after drinking coffee, I feel drained instead. The question is, who do you think should drink it, if at all? Well, it's a good question. Most people in what we're calling modern society probably shouldn't, because the side of their nervous system they're already living on all the time is being overused, and using more caffeine is just going to cause them to overuse that side of their nervous system even more. And then they're in this vicious cycle where they don't have their own energy or strength anymore, so they just keep taking higher and higher doses of coffee. And, you know, I know you know this is kind of what you're talking about. It gets to the point where they can't even get the boost anymore. They just feel even more tired and drained, pissed off. The level of adrenal fatigue and imbalance and dysfunction at that point is huge. And adrenal fatigue is rampant in modern society already. So like I say, most people would do well to not be drinking coffee. Myself, very rarely do I drink coffee. Once in a great while. And let's say in the last year, I've probably drank coffee maybe 5 times. And here's why. I'll go to set a personal best on a lift, but I've had a long-ass day where too many people distracted me and irritated me with too many lame-ass discussions that got me Twitter-pated and unfocused and so forth. In other words, I find myself approaching a max or a big new lift number that I'm going to set, that I had set up for myself that day, and now I'm not in the right mood. I'm ungrounded, I'm unfocused, I'm not connecting to my body very well, and I know that. And yet I've set this thing that I'm going to do that day. So once in a while, in a case like that, I'll go slam a bunch of coffee. Because the thing with me, and I think you guys have noticed this, I was born caffeinated. So when I drink coffee, it's like nuclear bad. I'm not fit to be around for anybody. Nobody should have to be around me, even me, for the rest of that day. So I only do it for moments like that. And what it literally does, it doesn't help me get grounded. It doesn't help me feel right. It just makes me even more pissed off. And I'll go down there and cuss and scream and slap myself until I feel like lifting that 1,000 and whatever pounds in that position, because I'm so damn pissed I just have to do it. And I'll lift the weight and slam it down, scream a couple times, and that's it. You know, I've achieved my purpose for that day. And then I'll try to go leave everybody alone or get some space for the rest of that day, because I'm not fit to be around. I'm almost psychotic when I drink. In fact, there was a time decades ago in my early 20s where I discovered this accidentally, that if I drink too much coffee, weird things happen. I drank 20 cups of coffee one time because somebody brought a coffee maker to a tech school I was working at as a welder, or I was in their course. So I drank 20 cups of coffee and I lost my mind, and I spent the rest of that night terrorizing that town in ways that I can't believe everybody lived through and I'm not in prison for. I'm talking, oh God, I shouldn't even tell this story. Too late. So I had a large pickup truck and I was literally catching air, smashing through people's planter boxes, going through their yards, certain individuals that I was pissed off. I was jumping my pickup truck right outside their house, through their yard, smashing everything they have. Yeah, daring them to come out. So to say that there are certain ones of us who probably shouldn't drink coffee, and if we should, it should be the rare exception. I have a rule with myself. If I'm going to make an exception and drink a bunch of coffee to hit a max lift because I just had one of those days, I'm not going out for the rest of that night. I'm not. I won't be out in public, because if somebody so much as, you know, sneezes on me the wrong way, I might snap their neck before I even slow down to think about it. So, yeah, there's people like that probably are behind bars now because they drank coffee. So, you got everything going on. Now, there are individuals out there who can drink coffee on the regular, and it's not a problem because the way their nervous system is, it's actually balancing for them. But that's a much smaller percentage of people in this modern world. And if they are, they probably know who they are. In your case, you can tell it's not doing you any good. You're already out of balance. I would suggest, well, what I'd really suggest is learning to do coffee enemas. You talk about a whole different way to feel what coffee's possible. To have a euphoric experience from it instead of an irritating stimulation experience. In other words, when it doesn't go through your digestive tract and it goes into your bloodstream directly, the high you get from coffee is a completely different and much entirely better thing. But anyway, I just opened that can of worms in that discussion again. But yeah, I stay away from it. It's not really for me. I'm already way too, I won't say too highly strung, but I'm wound tight and aggressive and very fast thinking to begin with. My nervous system's already like that, so for me it's not balancing. So those are my thoughts. If you're a person who's dealing with adrenal fatigue, if you're cranky and shitty and coffee's just making it worse and it's not even lifting you anymore, now you're chronically tired, you need to heal yourself deeply with adaptogenic herbs that can balance the harmonizing of all the glandular functions in your body, because basically you've been burning your candle from both ends for so long now, your adrenal system doesn't have a clue anymore what it's supposed to be doing. So I recommend adaptogenic herbs, and also looking into adrenal fatigue and different methods for healing adrenal fatigue naturally, okay? Much love. Next question. How do you live without a car? Well, my wife has a car, so when I really need a car, I have access to a car. You know, we work it out to where we don't need to both drive somewhere at the same time, and that's been working because we're very organized the way we're doing that. And then it says, how do you live without a car without having to live in a big city? I don't know what you mean. Most of the time I do live in a big city, but big city or not, yeah, like I say, my wife has a car that I use when I need to. And I have other family members I can borrow a car from if I really need to. I have literally less than zero motivation to study for it. And I don't know what you mean, to study for, okay? Are you talking about your driver's license? I don't even know, my friend. So, yeah. There's always ways to live without cars and phones and things, guys. You're conditioned to a society that makes you think you got to have that. In fact, people think they got to have the new phone, so they spend $1,000 every time some new gadget, and they're buying new cars every year. They have 6 different vehicles, and now they got to buy a new one this year for $50,000 and just ensure that they're going to be in debt deeply for the rest of their lives playing these games. If you ever want to get out of financial slavery, you have to stop being distracted by the carrots they're hanging in front of you and walking into that pin and getting put even further in debt. You have to really prioritize what you're doing in life. My wife and I are paying all our debts off so that we can be financially free, so we can make a real difference in this world. But that will never happen if we're caught up in the stupid materialism that everybody's being sold. Oh, you need a new car now, don't you? Your car's not very good looking. Oh, you need this bling. You need more bling. You need more clothes. You need more name brand this, name brand that. Why would I wear name brand anything? So I can have some other dude's name on my ass? What am I? What am I, a fucking sheep? Like, for somebody else's brand on me? You see what I'm saying? I don't give a shit about any of that materialistic stuff. Most material objects, they're a pain in the ass. They're just something else you have to take care of and slave to that wastes all your time and energy and money. So for me, if any material object I have in my life, it better be serving a very real purpose, or I'm done with it, and it's going to be out of my way. So it's not wasting any of my time and focus. Hopefully that clarifies a little bit about that. Much love. Next question. Does eating raw red onion have the same or similar antioxidant effects as garlic? Yes. Onions and garlic are close cousins. There will be different concentrations, ounce for ounce, of which antioxidants are slightly more concentrated in one than the other. But yeah, all the same benefits, basically. They're so closely related. Yeah, some people eat raw garlic. I'm one of them. I eat a lot of raw garlic and onions. Bugenhagen does that. Doesn't surprise me. Generally, people with a lot of fiery passion in their body tend to crave fiery foods too. It goes with you, that energy. People that are very mopey and sad and they're a victim and everything's hard all the time, I find that people like that can't even tolerate garlic and onions for the most part, because they have no fire element. Their body's full of parasites and yeast and garbage that hates things like garlic. So their body will react and make them sick, and they're like, oh, I can't eat garlic or onion, I can't handle it. They don't even realize it's the mold and the yeast and the fungus and the crap in their body that doesn't want to die from that raw garlic that's giving them that feedback, secreting hormones and transmitters into their bloodstream to say, don't eat that. Don't eat that garlic. Don't eat those onions. You hate that. It's not really you that hates it. It's all the junk living in your body, for those of you hearing what I'm saying here. So anyway, enjoy your fire element. It's purifying and strengthening. Yes. Much love. Next question. Do you think that the overhead press is a better test of upper body pressing, pushing strength than the bench press? Yeah, overall, you know, if a person said choose one and that's all humans are ever going to do for the rest of all eternity, I'd say do the overhead press. It's a more athletic movement. It uses more of your body. It requires more coordination. It requires more mind-muscle connection to do it right. And the bench press is just overrated and tends to cause too much internal rotation, and everybody overdoes it and looks like a damn gorilla and has a weak upper back in comparison. So yeah, I'm just, what do you bench? What do you bench? Everywhere you go, what do you bench? I don't know. Who cares? Whatever I want. What do you overhead press? Nothing. You know what I mean? Yes. The overhead press is better. Awesome. Next question. Would like to hear your thoughts on lifting and nutrition for pregnant women. Okay. Now, my wife worked out pretty much clear through her pregnancies. She actually worked out more during her pregnancies than she's done since then. And everything worked out well. Our kids were really healthy. So, nutrition-wise, of course, micronutrients. There's a lot of nutrients that are known to increase babies' IQ when they're born. DHA, for example. And I think there's even vegan sources of DHA now, if I'm not incorrect on that. But either way, DHA. So like cod liver oil is what's traditionally been used, but I think there's vegan alternatives now for those that are vegan. And let's see what else. All the micronutrients. Pretty much any study you look up where they compared babies who got a decent amount of this micronutrient versus the ones who didn't, the ones who did always come out better. They always have a better head start in life. They're working with more intelligence and a more physical body, glandularly and every other way, better immune system. So pregnancy, think about it. It's a short time and it's all you're going to get to give that new human being their foundation for their life. So if ever in your life you wanted to actually do nutrition right, that would be the time to do it. It's sad to say, but a lot of people won't do it for themselves, so do it for your baby, okay? Research it. Make the effort to Google, and this is not to you, Beyond the Chains. Brilliant question. I'm saying this to, pregnant women or guys that communicate with their pregnant women. Make the effort to Google nutrients which increase health, IQ, immune system, development rates. There's tons of information out there available to you that you can apply that your child will benefit from for the rest of their life, okay? This is an information age. If you care, there's almost no excuse not to do that. When you're pregnant, put in some effort, put in some research. You only have 9 months to do this right, okay? And then if you want to go back to not taking care of yourself, so be it, but at least you gave that other individual somewhat of a better start to life, okay? So that's my 2 cents on that. Next question. I can't say a whole lot more about that subject without going too far out. Private consultations on any health matter are available. There's really only so much I can say publicly without getting shut down. So, much love. Let me know if we want to go deeper on that, if it's specific or anything. Next question. What is your opinion on the Wim Hof breathing method? Do you use it at all in the morning or before lifting or really heavy weights? I use something similar. Sometimes I'll do it before a lift. Usually I don't even think of that. Where I use it more is on my other channel for meditations, for doing readings on people, etc. I just call it like shamanic power breathing because it a lot of people maybe don't know this. Your lungs produce DMT when you breathe that way, okay? So my lungs do a really good job of producing DMT. When I breathe, with power like that, I get a high so intense like I start leaving my body, and then all sorts of things become available to me. So yes, I like something very similar to it. I use it more for metaphysical things in my own case. But yeah, I think it's really cool. And the way he uses it, I don't really understand how he does that, but that's awesome. His cells listen to him, they take in the oxygen, they convert it to heat. Very cool. The way he uses his willpower combined with oxygen to communicate with his body and his cells in a specific way. And he's doing it better than anybody else out there, at least as far as that goes. Very cool. Next question. Do you have any new methods of detoxification that you haven't mentioned already? And maybe the subject in general is interesting for your new viewers. Yeah, I have methods that I haven't mentioned that I can't mention publicly because people could hurt themselves, okay? It's the kind of thing that I have to work with a person privately on. Furthermore, I can't go deep into this subject without violating the law anyway, because the truth is, if you get any further into the subject, you get to the point where your people are healing themselves of incurable diseases, which is illegal or something for me to even say. So, unfortunately, no. I can't say even a percentage of what I want to about that subject. Now, guys, for a basic reference, again, under the video I just posted recently, High Testosterone, under that video are links to 2 other videos that I don't keep on this channel, but they are videos by me. System Blower has them on his channel. The detoxification video and the supplements for survival in a toxic age video. Those videos are both linked under my High Testosterone video. I highly recommend it to anybody who would like to understand how to own your own health, okay? And all the amazing things that can unfold from there. But as far as deeper methods of detox, it gets intense, it gets serious, it gets more, yeah, it gets more intense and serious and powerful. And there's certain things I can't tell people about because they could literally hurt or kill themselves if they did it wrong. They need one-on-one guidance on some of these methods that are so intense or so, the kind of thing that you have to do it right, okay? So, for anyone looking to go deep into a serious detox, you can hit me up privately. We can do another better upgrade or work something else out along those lines. But my hands are tied as far as speaking in public about this subject, and I don't want to get my channel taken away again. So I'm doing my best to dance around the crazy-ass laws of this world. So much love. Thank you for an awesome question. I wish I could really go into it publicly. Hopefully I've made it clear that for those looking for some serious health, some help or guidance or so forth on your health, that's something we have to do privately. Alright? Next question. This is just a comment. Twisting Nether, the type of dude to verbally destroy your entire existence, but end the sentence with strength and honor. Yes, yes indeed, my friend. Thank you. What do you think of Sabaton or Sabaton or something? Don't know, my friend. No idea. Somebody out there, go ahead and link on this thread something about whoever that is, if you want to and you care for everybody's interest. Much love. Next question. Can you talk about pain tolerance and how to increase it? Look at Sam O'Neill's Transcendent Training. Listen to how he explains it. Now I'm doing it too, but he's a visionary and he's the one that explains it better. So he's linked. His channel is again linked on this Q&A. Check that out. Check out his explanation of Transcendent Training so you can understand that the ability to get outside of your mind in some cases can make the so-called perception of pain be much, much, much less. Okay? That's really what it is. It's in your perception. It's where your focus is. It's where your center of consciousness is. And this gets very metaphysical. Most people live their whole life in this world with their center of consciousness in their head, specifically what you could call their left brain. But it's possible to learn how to move your center of consciousness around. And when your center of consciousness is not in your normal left brain thinking patterns, it's amazing how much farther you can handle something before it seems physically painful. But yeah, I'm going to recommend Sam's channel and his transcendent training and his explanations for that, for you to look into that, see if you can pick up on the transcendent vibe that's going on with that, okay? It's the best I can answer on that for now. Much love. Next question. Can you share your thoughts and perspective on gut health and its relation to overall mental health? I see that some pockets of the medical profession are finally joining the dots in this area. Your thoughts on apple cider vinegar for gut health and balance. I know your thoughts on this will be a massive help to everyone and a reminder of the importance of maintaining mental health, not just a tool to fight off depression, but also as a tool to deal with the steel effectively in the gym. Much love, brother. Much love to you too, brother. Much love to you too, brother. So, okay. Yeah, there's a huge connection here. In fact, modern science is starting to, well, certain groups are starting to call something in the gut your second brain, because they've discovered that, say, like the microflora balance in your gut has everything to do with how you feel emotionally, how mentally healthy or unhealthy you are. So in a world rampant with candida, let's really talk about this. What does candida do? It sends signals to a person's brain so they crave sugar and junk and crap that feeds candida. It controls them. People with candida do not feel good. They're depressed and miserable and weak, and everything comes through a filter of negativity for the most part. Now, candida is kind of just a word for yeast imbalance, which is rampant on this planet in the gut. Unhealthy food combinations are eaten in, I don't know, pretty much every culture I've seen on this planet where they combine starches and sugars and proteins. This destroys your health, guys. When you eat sugars with proteins, it glycates the proteins, which means they don't get built into your body right. You want to have wrinkles and bad collagen structure at a young age? That's the way to do it. Put sugars with your proteins. Put some sweet sauce on your barbecue like everybody likes to do. If you want to destroy the flora balance in your gut, take antibiotics. That's it. After that, it's all downhill, unless you repopulate the gut with really healthy probiotics. Every human being, if we lived in an advanced science society or a reasonable world, every human being who ever did a course of antibiotics, which would only be used for emergencies, by the way, every human who ever did a course of antibiotics would immediately be following it with a course of the most high quality probiotics that one could get their hands on. So being that everybody's done these antibiotics and hasn't repopulated their gut with good probiotics, everybody has imbalanced yeast and strains of bacteria which don't stay in the gut. Once they get out of balance, then they get strong enough to move through your whole body. They're in your organs, they're in your brain, they're all over the place. And they're dumbing you down, and they're making you crave shit that's garbage for your body and only feeds more candida and crap growing out of control. And they're giving you a mental fog, and they're giving you an emotional fog, and they're giving you very negative, depressed feelings that aren't even your own. This is very real, guys. So this is an incredible topic to bring up. Gut health is absolutely terrible. It's atrocious on this planet. And bodybuilders are the worst. And these mainstream bodybuilders that sell you some bullshit 10-step program to where, oh, you're going to gain 8 to 20 pounds of mass in 8 weeks if you do my program. And half their program is that you're supposed to eat 10 fucking meals a day or whatever. Guess what's happening, guys? The reason they do that is because when their program turns out to be bullshit that's nothing special anyway, if you don't get the gains you think you should, they'll say, well, it's your fault. You didn't eat your 10 meals a day. That way they have a cop-out for the fact that their program's just generic shit anyway. Furthermore, if you actually force those 10 meals down you a day, all you're going to do is eat and shit. You're not going to have any energy for lifting. You're just going to be a bloated piece of cattle, basically. You're wearing out and destroying your gut. You're wearing out all your digestive organs. You're wearing out your whole body because there's no way it could be processing all that, and digestion takes a ton of energy. It's ridiculous, okay? People's gut disease is rampant, and all other health conditions go downhill from there. People die all the time from heart attacks and cancer and this and that. 99% of those conditions started in their gut. Gut havoc, leaky gut, You've been eating, when I say you, I'm not talking to anybody specifically here, I'm just talking to society, has been eating improper food combinations that the body doesn't really work that way. So what happens? Let's take an example. Meat and potatoes. Everybody wants their meat and potatoes. You put meat and potatoes in your stomach, here's what happens. Your pancreas says, oh my God, we got entirely different food groups. Let's pick one to actually digest right. And it releases the enzymes that will digest those starches because those are easier to digest. So, it digests most of the potatoes. What happens to the meat? It rots, it ferments, it becomes roadkill, plastered on the side of your gut, decaying into disease, leaking poison into your bloodstream over time, so that when you die, you get to be like John Wayne and they pull 40 pounds of impacted shit out of your gut. That was John Wayne. He didn't even live in a toxic age like now. There's people walking around with 100 pounds of backed up toxic roadkill stuck all over the inside of their body. And this is how it gets there. And then you just live with that decay, poisoning you all the time. So it starts with the gut, guys. We've been over food combinations a little bit. We've linked something on one of the former Q&As, so I'm not going to go over all the same things like I said, because I want this Q&A library to not be really repetitive. So look into food combinations. It starts there. Now understand that because you've all taken antibiotics, you have a messed up gut. You have messed up, out of balance yeast problems throughout your body. Some people worse than others. Educate yourselves on Candida cleansing. Everybody should do a massive Candida cleanse right now, starting now, because after that, you'll own your own brain. You'll own your own body to a degree you never did before, and all kinds of lights will come on. And you realize a lot of the stupid limiting beliefs and crap that your life was made of before, it was just because there was a lot of parasitic garbage in your body, making you weak and clouded, okay? There's people today that have more than 50% of their actual physical matter, their weight, when they step on a scale, more than 50% of it is not even their own. This is a fact. For those of you that are kind of getting the detox, own your own body, starting to wake up and realize, and that's the vibe you're picking up here, go research this stuff, guys. It's way bigger than you think. So yeah, gut and brain directly connected together. Your gut health absolutely determines neurotransmitter levels. In fact, there's strains of bacteria that if you eat them on purpose, your sense of well-being will go up thousands of times over. So when people invented this germ theory and started putting bleach and chemicals all over their kitchens and poisoning themselves to death with cancer and all this insanity, I think Louis Pasteur was a big part of how that got started, even though he tried to take it all back on his deathbed. Nobody was listening. The cause and effect from this has been terrible. Humans are supposed to have a lot of bacteria in the gut. 70% at least of your immune system is supposed to start in the gut by having your gut populated with all the proper strains of bacteria. Nobody has this now due to antibiotics. So their main chunk of their immune system is already missing. Plus, every time anybody gets a sniffle now, they run to the doctor to get more antibiotics. So you can never have any immune system, and your body can be absolutely rampantly overpopulated with yeast that's controlling your thoughts, cravings, hormones, or lack thereof. I privately work with a lot of people. I talk to guys that are like 20 that can't make any testosterone. They're ready to go on testosterone replacement therapy because nothing in their body works. Well, this is one of the reasons why. When you're so full of bacteria, parasites, yeasts, molds, heavy metals, and all this other bullshit, your endocrine system doesn't work. Your glands can't produce what they're supposed to. Your neurotransmitters in your brain aren't producing what they're supposed to. So you feel like shit, you look like shit, you function like shit, and all of this started in the gut. I'm going to leave it there for now because this could go on. I mean, there are countless books out there about this. And it's a subject that more people who are starting to take responsibility for their health in the modern information age are having success with. There are success stories, people to follow their journey and learn and understand what they went through once they realized that their body was not their own and that subtle invaders had long since been directing the path of their life to shit compared to what it could be. Okay? So anybody who wants to educate themselves on how to take your temple back from all the garbage that's living in your environment, telling you what to eat, convincing you you can't do this and you can't do that, and you have strong cravings for this and that you know aren't doing you any good, it's time to start kicking all the trash out and take your body back if you really want to own it and own your own power. That's one of the things we all need to do. Okay? So, again, private sessions for deep detox, for real health challenges, for people that are serious. I'm available for that. Check out the videos linked under my high testosterone video, the detoxification video, the supplements for this day and age video. Very important information for anybody. Anybody out there starting right now, you should be, let's say you're taking antibiotics right now, or the next time you do. As soon as that's over, do some research while you're taking the antibiotics and order yourself the most high quality probiotics there are that you can find. And the day you're done with those antibiotics, start your course of probiotics. Okay? Put the right kind of strains of bacteria back into your body where you just wiped it all out, because otherwise Candida is like a cockroach. It's the only strain that'll live, and when everything else that you're supposed to have is gone, Candida will just grow out of control and take over your whole body. This is what's happened to everybody. Okay? And it makes you very weak emotionally, it makes you very weak mentally, it makes you very weak physically. This is real, guys. Look into it further. Awesome question. Much love. Next question. What's the most weight you've ever pulled off the floor, and what exercises would you recommend for pulls off the floor? Most weight you've ever pulled off the floor. I don't know. I've done well up into the 800s on a trap bar. I don't actually know, honestly, the most weight I've ever pulled off the floor. But what exercise would I recommend for pulls off the floor? Well, if you don't have any rules, if it doesn't have to be a standard deadlift, I'd say use a trap bar. You're going to end up, well, 9 out of 10 people are going to be able to end up lifting more weight on a trap bar than they will on a standard barbell. And do deficits once in a while in your training so that you're strong in that starting point, the low point. But then again, not everybody's the same. I hear from people who their weak point is near lockout at the top. So it would depend what your main limiting factor is for me to know that for sure. But for me, since you left it at that and I don't know any other information, I'd say if you have access, work with a trap bar. It's a more balanced exercise. Either that or a Jefferson deadlift. Some people, Jefferson deadlift or trap bar. One of those, you will end up being able to lift a lot more in the long run than you can on a standard deadlift. That's all I can say about that without more details. Next question. Do you recall how much did you weigh before you started lifting? Do you have a before picture? Just interested in what you had to start with, physique and structure wise. Let's see. Maybe I'll find some before picture one of these days and put somewhere on here, but the first time I ever started lifting, I was 17 and I just did like bicep curls that summer. At that time I was probably approaching 6 foot tall and probably weighed about 165. But then I sort of stopped. And then the next time I started lifting regularly was as a senior in high school. I had an English teacher who I got along with well, and he was a big strong dude who had a history of weightlifting, and he was a little overweight, so he wanted to get down to 200 pounds if possible, and I wanted to get up to 200 pounds. I was starting from 180, okay, my senior year, about 6'2", I think. At the time, I think I was full height and about 180. So we started a race. We started working out with each other after school in the school weight room, and I got to 200 long before he, in fact, he never got down to 200. He was just too big for that. But yeah, I blew up to over 200, up to like almost 210 or something that school year. So if that gives you some idea. I gained about 30 pounds of muscle, no fat, my first year lifting regularly with someone who pretty much knew what he was doing in a decent weight room, where I started training mostly all my body, maybe not calves at the time, but pretty much everything else. So if that gives you some idea. Blew up to about 210 fast, you know. And then after that, it's been another 20 years of this and that on and off to get to where I am now. Different systems, different approaches, different ups and downs. So much love. Next question. But yeah, I was always very strong, pound for pound. I was naturally strong. Strong, naturally athletic, strong nervous system. And yeah, genetically I'd say I gained muscle well as well. You know, that being said, I had certain muscle groups that never grew worth a damn until I invented exercises for them. So I've had my challenges. Hasn't been easy or anything overall, but it's all valuable. All right. Next question. Hello, Nether. When is the best time, and hello to you as well, when is the best time to take supplements like spirulina, turmeric, and other herbs like this with food or on an empty stomach? I know you've talked about this, but I'm not sure. Thanks for, and greetings from the Czech Republic. Well, hello over there. Most of those I would take with food, and I would include a little shot of apple cider vinegar with that meal, just so it all digests together better. Some of these, like you can easily take spirulina on an empty stomach. That's fine. But a lot of things, if you take them with a meal and there's some oil or fat in that meal, you will digest a lot of these micronutrients better. Also, especially with the herbs, sometimes taking it on an empty stomach, they can give you an upset stomach. They'll make you feel nauseous. Not all of them, but some of them will. So that's another reason why I'd recommend just taking it with a meal. A shot of apple cider vinegar always makes everything digest better. When it comes to herbs or any kind of micronutrients, having at least some oil or fats included in the meal does help with digestion. You digest a much higher percentage of the micronutrients. That's kind of an unknown thing for some reason, at least in the circles I hear people talking about, the circular discussions of nutrition that kind of never go anywhere. So that's an important element that should be in there that people should know. So I would definitely recommend synergizing those into certain meals. In the long run, that's just probably a more efficient system where you're going to have better results. Okay? Much love and appreciation. Next question. How to be more intimidating? I live in a bad neighborhood. Well, I don't know, because when you see people, and it's almost always young guys, trying to look intimidating, it's really obvious that that's what they're doing. If you're a wuss, then you'll avoid somebody like that. If you're actually dangerous, then you'll prey on somebody like that because you know they're a pussy, and that's why they're trying to be intimidating. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying to be intimidating, because in some cases you're just going to get yourself in more trouble that way. What I'd recommend is doing something to yourself that actually makes you feel more confident. How you actually feel inside determines whether you're attracting bullies to yourself in life or not. It's not how you look on the outside, I guarantee you. You could be big and strong looking on the outside, but if you're afraid of being picked on, you're gonna get fucking bullied. I guarantee it. Then there'll be other guys that don't look like shit and they never get bullied because for whatever reason it's not in their mind. They're not attracting that. So I'm not going to tell you how to act or try to behave like you're more intimidating, because you're probably already in a neighborhood where you got a bunch of little punks running around doing that anyway, and I don't think you're going to get any real advantages by trying to act tougher than you are, okay? If I were you, I would find a way to actually train to be a fighter, because then you know. And trust me, it doesn't take much. The lowliest female, smallest weight class, amateur MMA fighter on this planet can kill any of these assholes on your street that think they're tough with her bare hands. I guarantee you this. I guarantee you. So if you have any opportunity to get MMA fight training, even one day a week for a couple months, you will be able to hand anybody on your street their ass anytime you want to, any way you want to, okay? So the first time one of them tests you on that, and you make them eat concrete as hard as you want to, as long as you want to, it'll get pretty clear to the other ones that this just isn't somebody you fuck with. You know, this is not a prey animal. That's what I would suggest if you have any opportunity. This whole trying to look intimidating thing, It doesn't work. I'll tell you, it doesn't work on real fighters. They know that you're full of shit, and if they want to, they will target you and just make an example of you in front of everybody. So it's not about acting intimidating. It's about actually knowing how that you're on a different level inside. So that's my honest suggestion to you, okay? That's what'll actually help. Because then you're carrying real confidence, which means you're much less likely to attract anybody to mess with you anyway. I was a bully magnet when I was young, and then I taught myself to be the last thing in the world anybody would want to bully, and then magically nobody would ever mess with me again, even if I wanted them to, okay? That's how that changed. As soon as I wanted somebody, or even a group of somebodies to try to bully me, it never happened again, okay? That's how this works. So it's not about faking or acting, it's about actually being. It's about changing yourself inside, okay? So that's my answer to that. Much love, my friend. Next question. What is your opinion on Svrij, I don't know how to say that, ex-vegan, fruitarian, breatharian who almost died from it? He says now that raw milk, butter, eggs, meat are the only foods that humans should consume, and that plants are toxic and don't digest well in humans, and that veganism is a new world order agenda to weaken and keep the masses dumbed down and infertile. That's interesting. Now, I haven't heard of this individual or watched their videos, but I get the gist of what you're saying about what they're teaching. So here's how I'd analyze that. This is someone who went way too far for their own genetics on the whole vegan fruitarian thing and hurt themselves and realized it, and then they overcorrected the other direction. They took on a new religion. He's still basically looking to have a food religion. That's what this is. So now he's taking the opposite extreme. The only foods for humans are animal products. Because right now he's balancing out his system and healing from the damage he did. Does that mean the ultimate diet for humans is to eat only animal products? Hell no, it doesn't mean that. It just means right now this guy's balancing out years of going to the other extreme. So this is his new religion. If he lives long enough and fluctuates back and forth between these extremes, eventually he's going to realize that there's some sort of a balance somewhere on that spectrum where a certain amount of animal products and a certain amount of plant products are what's ideal for him. As what's ideal for anybody else is going to be on a different place on that spectrum. Like I've said before, from all my research and experience, I would honestly say most human beings are going to be healthier on a more plant-based diet. That does not mean fucking fruitarian, breatharian. If all you eat is fruit and air and wishful thinking all the time, you're going to lose your teeth. You're going to turn into a shaky, imbalanced psycho sooner or later. I can't say that's 100% true of everyone. Maybe there's someone out there with the genetics to pull off fruitarianism for life without becoming a total fruit. It could happen, but I haven't seen it yet. This same thing you're describing here happened to Daniel Vitalis, whom I highly respect and recommend. You guys want to learn about nutrition and about the natural elements and a lot of cool shit like that? Look up Daniel Vitalis, okay? Very fucking cool guy to learn from. Now, he's a little heavy on the animal product side of things for me, diet-wise, but he has a lot of good points that he'll bring up to help expand your mind and make you realize some things about all these modern food cults and religions and diets and ideas that aren't really grounded in anything practical that has anything to do with ancestry, for example. So I highly recommend Daniel Vitalis. I'm linking it below. What else here? To say that all plants are toxic, like I said before, all plants have certain toxins in them. You and I have certain toxins in them. If I eat you, I'm going to eat certain toxins, okay? Same with all animal products. They all have certain toxins. There's no such thing as something completely non-toxic, and this goes to really an understanding of what a living organism is. A living organism, like you and I, or our physical body anyway, is supposed to deal with a certain amount of stress and a certain amount of recovery. And in building up both of those, how much stress you can handle based on how strong you are at recovering, recuperating, and compensating, you can become a stronger, more holistic organism with a better immune system, with stronger muscle. I mean, think about, this is a fitness strength channel, right? If you don't fuck up your muscles, you're never going to have anything impressive for muscles, are you? No. Well, same with this. If you don't give your body a certain amount of toxins and challenges, it's going to be weak and wimpy and pointless. And the first time it does face a challenge, it's going to take over your body and you're going to die. So this weird idealistic dreamy hippie notion that there's certain foods that are just zero toxins and everything's kumbaya. That's not even real. There's no such thing. Every plant has defensive mechanisms built into it to keep certain bugs from eating it. If you can eat that plant and get a net benefit versus a net detriment, it's worth eating for you. That's the nature of food in reality. There's no such thing as a non-toxic diet. There's no such thing as a diet for everybody. There's no such thing as a diet that doesn't put a cost and some kind of consequences onto this earth and living things. So these religions that people are trying to form, where they can just make their soul all fulfilled if they have the right restrictive diet or whatever, it's never going to work. It's fun to explore and it's interesting, but it's not realistic. It has nothing to do with reality. So when that guy's, he's been the extremist on the animal-only side things long enough, he might get bored and find a third religion of food, or he might eventually balance it out and just acknowledge that it's not all about one thing versus the other, That's been one of the main problems with human consciousness on every subject. Everybody thinks it's this versus that, instead of how do we put all the elements of what's real together and harmonize and understand the whole picture instead of fighting about the different pieces of the picture forever on this planet. Yeah, so I guess that's my answer to that. All right, next question. Favorite core strengthening exercise? Well, and welcome back, Nether, and thank you, my friend. Good to be back. Why is this not scrolling? I might be at the bottom of these. That can't be all of them. It's not scrolling, so I guess we're about to end this. Okay. Favorite core strengthening exercise? Anything big and heavy and compound. Now, me personally, I'm moving away from a blocky core because I have a short torso compared to the length of my arms and legs, and that doesn't leave me much length between my rib cage to my hips. And my hip bones are not, they're a little on the wide side too. So what that means is, in order for me to have that nice X shape and illusion, I have to be very careful with how big I let my core get. And when I'm doing a lot of off the ground, for example, heavy lifts, my core gets pretty big and thick pretty fast because I have a strong core. So right now I'm actually limiting that kind of stuff. My core training is more about agility right now than max strength and bulk, because I'm recomping and I'm preparing myself for a new physique update down the line that I'm going to, when I feel like I've artistically made enough difference to my sculpture, I'll update on my next appearance and show how I made some adjustments to my, sculpture the way I chose to. But as far as just best core exercises, as far as having the biggest, strongest, most powerful core you can, like I said earlier, things like the suitcase deadlift, things like heavy-weighted farmer's walks, and any form of pulling off the ground, or even below the knee rack pulls, anything where you're pulling a lot of weight and you got to flex your core as hard as you can so you don't break your back or shoot your guts out through your abs or something. Those are the best core builders, period. Okay? So in order to not be too repetitive on all these timestamps, I'm going to move on that one now. What are your thoughts on the mainstream idea that sodium is deadly and you need to be on a low sodium diet when there's Himalayan pink salt, for example, that contains the essential minerals? Yeah, like 100 plus of them probably. Also, do you have any good stretches and or exercises for improving posture, anterior pelvic tilt, rounded shoulders, etc.? Okay, one at a time. Sodium. Refined sodium, like they sell at the normal grocery store, is toxic and lethal. It's an industrial byproduct that comes off machinery, and that's why they sell it in stores to make money off the public, and it will kill you. Real salt. Now, humans, let's try to get this through our heads right now, because I know these terms have been lumped together, and it's like being hit over the head with a fucking stupid hammer. Salt, actual real salt, is not sodium. Sodium is a singular, refined industrial byproduct that will fuck you up. Real salt from the earth contains sodium, yes, but it also has the other 100 and something minerals that are supposed to be attached to that sodium. So it works right. It's an electrolyte. It's how you charge your batteries. It's how you live. It's how you conduct electricity from your actual mind through your body. If you don't have any electrolytes, the signal's gone and you're done. So fucktard dipshit one-dimensional doctors teaching people to avoid salt are killing them, because they're too fucking stupid and uneducated to know the difference between fucking refined sodium that is lethal and bullshit, should be illegal to sell to humans for consumption, and actual salt from the earth, which is your vitality. It's the earth element. It's one of the 4 elements without which you're just a bag of gush that can't think, no strength, no willpower, no nothing. So yes, Himalayan pink salt, Celtic sea salt, salt from the Utah flat, the salt flats. Real salts from the earth are super healthy and essential, okay? They're alkalizing, they're your vitality. If you want a stronger signal from your mind to your muscles, you have to have the ability to send the electrical current. The same way the ocean has all that natural salt in it, it's a super good conductor of electricity. That's what you want going inside your internal ocean, so you can conduct stronger electricity. Without salt, you ain't going to conduct shit, but you need real salt from the earth, not refined sodium, okay? Educate yourselves, everybody, and know the difference, and never be weakened or fucked over by this kind of stupidity again, okay? Excellent question. Thank you. Everybody needed to hear that. Start thinking about that. There's people dropping dead on these no sodium diets. Sodium is one of the 4 essential nutrients, but you're supposed to take it in a form of real salt with all the correct cofactors and co-minerals connected to it molecularly. Man fucks that up and he makes this leftover product called refined sodium that creates chaos in your body. This is a cause and effect universe. You can't do shit like that without paying a penalty. So everybody learn the difference between real salt from the earth and bullshit refined sodium that's killing people. Your doctor's apparently too fucking dumb to notice the difference, but you guys, you're more than capable of understanding that, aren't you? Yes. All right. Before I get too ranty. Next question. All right. You said you really enjoy trap bar deadlifts. Do you prefer high handle or low handle? And do you alternate between? Yes, I alternate, and I even do deficits on the trap bar with heels elevated because it's brutal on the quads. But as far as prefer, of course I prefer the high handle. You know me, I love rack pulls. You guys got to understand, somebody invented the height that is the standard height you pull a barbell off the floor in a deadlift. It's totally fucking arbitrary. It depends on what size plates you have on the bar. It's all arbitrary, guys. So the high handle on the trap bar, since I can lift way the fuck more weight and build more muscle, to me, that's a better handle. Just like when I say you guys have seen some of my videos where I do like a 1,100 pound Jefferson. I call it a deadlift because it's on the lowest pin on my rack, so it's a 4-inch head start. It's 4 inches higher than if the plates were sitting on the ground. And I hit 1,100 pounds. I'm strong from right at that range. And I like it. It builds all the same muscle that it would off the floor, except it's building more because I'm lifting a lot more. So remember, guys, it's arbitrary. Why isn't the deadlift off the ground itself? Why don't you just grab a bar that's literally only got enough room for your fingers to go under it? Who decided that the bar would be this high or this high or this high depending on what plates are on the end of it? And that's some magical measure of strength. It doesn't mean shit. You might as well do a below the knee rack pull and call it a deadlift. And just have bigger plates sitting on the end of it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to use what builds more muscle and strength. So for me, I'll take the high handles on the trap bar, where we're lifting a lot more weight off the ground that way. But technically, somebody's going to say that doesn't count because it's not the same as their standard deadlift. Like I give a shit. All right. That's my answer to that. For some reason, this thing isn't scrolling anymore, and I'm having trouble believing. But I guess that was all the questions for now. So somehow, let me scroll up through this page. That just went too quick. No, I covered a lot of questions. I guess that's enough for today. All right, my friends. Much love and appreciation to everyone. Thank you for awesome questions.